The sponsor has been identified, but unlike most television programs, the performer hasn't been provided with a script. As a matter of fact, I have been permitted to choose my own words and discuss my own ideas regarding the choice that we face.
Welcome to the Open Train of Thought podcast. I'm your moderator, Sam Blue Sr., and we appreciate you joining us for this real conversations with real people. This podcast was created to encourage open dialogue about the issues impacting our communities, culture, education, politics, and future. We believe understanding starts with listening, even when opinions differ. So before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, follow, hit that thumbs up, and share this stream with others that you feel could benefit from this information. In tonight's episode, we'll be discussing serious relationships. So sit back, get comfortable, and get ready as we take a ride on the Open Train of Thought podcast. So let's get into it by welcoming our guest panelist, CJ Wade. How you doing, CJ?
Hey, I'm fine yourself.
I'm doing good. Um, Before we get started, I wanted to see if you wanted to just take a minute to let the viewers know, just a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I am a model, actress, mom of two. Um, I've been pretty much, and I also work at a law firm. I've pretty much been modeling and acting probably for about the past 5 years. I want to say 4 or 5 years in total. Um, so that's I want to say basically the synopsis of like who I am. I'm super shy, guys. So sorry.
I want to also ask the viewers to feel free to comment. And as we dig into this, I want to start with just what is your definition of a serious relationship?
Ooh, my definition of a serious relationship is two people that are truly invested in each other. Um, that you guys are taking each other serious. You know, the time that you guys spent with each other, the intentions that you guys have with each other. That pretty much determines like the core of what a serious relationship is. So I think a lot of people tend to just occupy people's time or kind of float around and see what they want, but when your intentions are pure, when you're invested, when you know that you're spending something that you know you can't get back, i.e. time, like that, let me know how serious kind of where a relationship is at. So
Okay. I kind of feel the same thing. I look at a lot of people now, especially the younger folks. There's a lot of casual dating. And the younger generation coming through now, they're not so much like the older generation, where the older generation would go all in on a relationship when they meet someone. But it seems like this younger generation tends to be cautious. They tend to build walls. They and there's flags to that, which we'll discuss later. But I just think the new generation definitely needs to hear some of the things that we share today, because it will open up their eyes and possibly kind of inform them on why some of their relationships, may not be going so well or going as planned. What
mhm.
do you think?
No, I agree. I do understand the reason why. I just don't think that they value relationships how we do. I also think that to a certain extent, and I don't hope I'm not jumping too far, like social media have a huge part in that. Like, especially with
Mhm.
the younger generation. I myself, I'm 33. Um, so the younger generation, they're pretty, disconnected in a sense. So
Yeah.
I'm also aware that social media kind of raised them. Like they grew up in the era where it was strictly internet. So I
Okay.
think that shaped their perspective on what relationships are, which in hindsight is also affecting how they're going about being, like casually dating or just,
Yes.
out there. It sucks, but they also don't, most of them don't have that example like at home. So even
Mhm.
if social media was out the equation, which does play a heavy part, um, like is the example not even at home because everybody's not, don't want to be married, which is completely understanding, but it's a matter of knowing how to obtain healthy relationships. I think a lot of people kind of lose sight in what relationships are and versus what marriages are. So I think it's their ideology and their perspective of what a relationship or what a marriage is. So it's a lot of things. I don't know.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So let me ask you, what would you tell your 18-year-old self about relationships?
Ooh, it's not always about you. Um, I've been with my husband since I was 16, y'all. So it almost 20 years. So we were together at an age where we like grew up with each other. Some to say 16 is super young to be in a relationship, which is completely understanding, but I started off young. I was also super selfish. I was aware that I was super selfish. So being able to acknowledge that and fixing that, it was a super hooray. Acknowledge how you feel. I think that's also another thing, especially if you have like people pleaser traits, of which I do really badly. I don't have the tendency of acknowledging how I feel in real time.
Mm.
'Cause under whatever circumstance, I'm always putting the other person feeling before mine. And I know that sounds weird given that I'm selfish or given that I was selfish, but I also had an issue with acknowledging how I feel. So I will always block how I feel in the situation just to get the situation over with and just attend like, hey, we need to be done. Let's fix, fix, fix. I was always in fixing mode. So I didn't want to acknowledge how I feel. And in result, I end up becoming selfish because I didn't understand the true meaning of conflict resolution.
Mhm.
Be mindful of your tongue. Listen, I don't like to do the gender thing, right? I think that if you carry the characteristics or trait of something, that's just what you are, no matter what gender it is. But we as women, we have very sharp tongues. I'm not gonna lie. Um, and with me being a little bit more emotionally intelligent, not saying that my husband is not, but women, we're sometimes a little bit more emotionally intelligent than men. We know how to handle things somewhat on a better level depending on what it is. Um, I can assess a situation, whether right or wrong, because of how I handled it would have made me wrong straight across the board. And it was always because of my tongue. So just be mindful of your tongue. Those
Okay.
are the three things.
Hilda says that was her also. That was her too. And she definitely agrees with you. Um, if I was to say something to my 18-year-old self, um, I would tell them to be more respectful. Um, I was kind of respectful, but I was also quick to go somebody. And I didn't have empathy towards other people's feelings. It was always about me. And I think the younger generation, what you mentioned, like the social media and stuff, everybody is looking or expecting that social media story and not the true story. And one of the things that I tell people is like when I see like real big entertainers or real Hollywood marriages and they have like a 10, 15,000 square foot home or 20,000 square foot home. For me, I look at those as contract, kind of like contract marriages. I consider Will Smith and Jada Pickett, I consider that a contract marriage.
Agreed.
Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, I consider that a contract marriage. even Jay-Z and Beyonce, me personally, I consider that a contract marriage because I remember watching an interview with Shaquille O'Neal, and he mentioned that 3 years prior to them actually filing for divorce, him and his wife lived on different parts of their home, and he was like, it's 60,000 square feet. So he was like, it would be weeks that he didn't even see her. So I think a
Wow.
lot of that are kind of like telltale signs. That's why when I see famous folks like get together, and I understand everybody rooting them on, black love and everything, but I also feel I have enough experience to know that, there's always battles in relationships.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about fist fighting with each other. I'm just talking about just a marriage or any serious relationship requires times where you have to decide for yourself, is this something I want to fight for? Is
Mm.
this something I just want to move out and give up on? And anybody could go through that. My wife may have gone through that hundreds of times, and I'm definitely blessed that she chose to, okay, rather than go to the greener grass, she stayed in some of this brown patch. So I really think those are some of the things I would tell my 18-year-old self. And I know you mentioned something about genders and stuff, and you don't really like to talk about it, but
Yeah, gender role. Yeah.
yeah, well, me personally, I kind of, I'm more like a traditional person, but I hear a lot of people talking about like being submissive, like women are supposed to submit to their husband and the husband is supposed to sacrifice, for their wife. So what do you define as submission in a healthy relationship or marriage?
That's super funny because a lot of people, when they think that, they think, mm, I want to say like buck breaking. Is that the like right terminology? It's
I
when
think
people
so.
think submission, women don't like it because it's like they're surrendering their autonomy, right? It's like they at that point they lack the autonomy. I think people have a very misperception of what submission is. For me is when you both know how to be mindful and you both know how to cave into each other. For me it's not like happy wife happy life, it's happy house happy spouse. Because it's not just about me, right? I don't need to. What I would like to think of it is like play mind games to get you to do what I want. Like we need to be able to feed into each other, to pour into each other. We
Mhm.
need to be able to cave into each other and know when to put each other first. So for me, that's the definition. It does go hand in hand. So it's not something that just the wife does. It is something that husbands do as well. I just don't think a lot of men realize that. Men in healthy relationships, yes, because you guys understand what it takes to like kind of, you know, what is it? Push and give. You kind of give and give.
Mhm.
It's that seesaw, and we understand that. But I think people lack the understanding of what submission truly is. So it's like it's negative to the ear when people first hear like, "Oh, you need to submit to your husband." Ugh, like that's. But anybody that been in a real healthy marriage or been in a real healthy relationship, we know what that is. Like it doesn't leave a bad taste in my mouth if they be like, "Hey, do you submit to your husband?" Absolutely, like absolutely.
Mhm.
And I know how vicious I can be. So yes, I do agree with you, Cindy. Yes, submission is required by both parties, so and it is called compromise, so I definitely agree with that. So
Yeah. I would say for me, when people talk about submit, they're always referring to scripture. And it Ephesians does say that your wives are supposed to be submissive and men are supposed to sacrifice just like Christ sacrificed for the church. So what I would say was, as a man, if I had a choice to sacrifice or submit, I'm going to choose to submit because sacrifice actually means giving my life. And I think when I look at the word submit, I perceive it as respect. Like when I think about my wife, I think of her as my shield. I refer to her as my rib. So I also think that what does a rib do? It protects all the vital organs, my heart, my lungs. And when I'm away from her, it feels like sometimes I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Like I have this sense of anxiety. And to me, I feel that because I feel she's submissive. And like I said, I just think submissive for me is being respectful, knowing she has my back. If we're out someplace and somebody starts talking about me, she's gonna shut it down.
Yep.
And and at the same time, that trade-off is I'm willing to sacrifice my life for her. So if somebody breaks into the house, it shoots first, asks questions. Like she understands that that's how it's going to go down. So whether that takes my life or not, that's something that I'm willing. That's the trade-off for me to receive her submission. To me, it's an honor to receive submission from a woman. And I know there's a lot of feminists. Those feminists is like, oh, I don't need no man this, I don't need no man that. And the thing is like, one cannot survive without the other. We're yin and yang. And that's what social media is starting to teach, a lot of the young people that that's not the case. But that's what it is, from my perspective.
No, I 1,000,000% agree. And I do agree, Letitia, and I do apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. He is. I worked with Sam, doing podcasts before. I can just tell on how he speaks with even with certain topics. Like, yeah, he definitely is. Definitely have good characteristics and traits as my husband as well. So that's. I see you not just talking. Okay.
Yep. So I think we both have different perspectives, but at the same time we align. And I think with talking about those things, how should couples handle disagreements without damaging the relationship? What are some things that you would suggest?
I know this sounds super cliche, but believe it or not, it's a lot harder than we think. Please talk and communicate, and never let a problem linger. Like for me, we did have a rule where we wouldn't go to bed mad. We had an issue, let's try to address it. And you could do that with a lot of things, but please communicate. And sometimes it have to take for you to see things outside yourself
Mhm.
for you to actually find a solution. Like it's easy for somebody that you're cohabitating with, that you're living with. You guys seen each other in every single stage known to mankind. It's easy to bring up a situation where you feel like you're right, and as long as you get your point across that you're right, that you won. And sometimes it don't take that. Like it don't communicate, see each other. A lot of people don't know how to see their spouse. A lot of people don't know the difference, or they put having a marriage before having a relationship. And I know that sounds weird, but in order for you to have a healthy marriage, you have to have a healthy relationship. A lot of people misconstrue that because they want all the perks, the rules and regulations of what a marriage come, but you don't even like your partner. You don't even have a self-sustaining or a strong foundation or a relationship. So talk, y'all. Sometimes it may not necessarily be what you want to hear, but that provides you the clarity that you need to maybe go somewhere else if that's something that you guys need, or to work on a weak spot that you guys may have that you can strengthen together because you have your person. But talk, just talk. Don't. A lot of people have the habit of feeling things, seeing things, and then you acting out. And then once you actually come to the table and you talk to that person, it wasn't what you thought it was. But now you replay everything that you did because you thought it was something else, and now you don't set yourself up for failure because you don't went out and cheated, or you don't went out and talk down to your partner. It's something. Just communicate, and you got to respect each other's opinion. You got to respect each other's point of view. Like, you got to see each other and see how it's affecting your person. Like, to me, and I think I seen a comment earlier about compromise come in when you have to see things outside yourself. To me, I don't think the compromise come in where it's like, hey babe, I want to start a business. You go to work full time while I start this business. It don't come with that. It don't come with, hey, you working, I'll pay the bills and you stay home. It comes with that, yes. But one thing that we don't do as human beings, we lack the tendency of putting people or putting our spouse before us and how we feel sometimes when we want to be so right, but we know that us being so eager to be heard, you're not realizing how you dismissing your partner. So now you chipping away. You're so focused on winning the battle that you're losing the war, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, all that you just talk and respect each other's point of view. Like, hear each other out and don't be so selfish.
Okay. So you definitely explained how important communication is. But if I ask you for one example of what would be a good sign of communication, what would you say? Just one thing.
Just one thing will be being able to identify where you flawed at in the situation. Not where you were right or wrong, but being able to identify where you flawed, whereas you could have handled the situation better. It could have been something, but identifying where you may have contributed to the issue lets me know you have good communication. Whether it's that or just being able to properly identify the situation and know how to handle it, if that makes sense. Without
It
elaborating.
does. Yeah, I think you're definitely on point with that. What I look at a sign of healthy communication is when both people are contributing to that communication. If one person is communicating all day long, but the other person is in silence, that's not healthy communication.
Yeah.
It's those things. And when we talk about healthy communication, I think also it runs into like, that strong relationship to where one person is compromising. Like I'll give an example. When we first got married, I had a lot of furniture. She had a lot of furniture. And so we're brainstorming. We're like, what are we gonna do with all this furniture we have? What are we gonna do with certain things like bank accounts? What are we, like we start working that process out after I proposed. So she was basically like, you got to get rid of your sofa and stuff. And I'm like, that's a brand new sofa. I'm thinking in my head, like, it's brand new, like it's only a couple months old. But that was my compromise. So when it came to the house, anything dealing with the decor and all that, I compromised and I let her handle that. So if it took me taking a big loss on furniture that was just bought, my curio with 500 different colognes in it, I was military, you have all your colognes, Dracar, Yoke, Obsession. So that was my compromise. I had to cut down on the cologne. I had to cut down on a lot of things, but also she compromised a whole lot by not just putting up with my stubbornness to be resilient and fighting, giving up all that stuff, but she had to, it was compromised with her relocating. Most people aren't relocating, so, but that right there told me that was, and she may not know this, and, because I've never told her this, but that was one of the biggest parts of submission that she showed me, you know, to just pick up, and it was one of those things that she's responding. It,
Hi, Mrs. Blue. I was like, wait, who is that?
it's just one of those things that I think good communication requires equal on both sides. If one person is doing everything as far as compromise and the other one's not, it's not going to be something that's going to be productive. Now, on the next thing, I just want to switch gears.
Mhm.
On the next thing, you're in entertainment, you're in media, you're in film, you're in a lot of things. So let me ask you one thing and then we'll go to the next. It's a two-part question. The
Okay.
first question is, do you believe in boundaries?
Absolutely.
Okay. So in your career and your field of work, what are some boundaries you would advise a woman in your place, to do? What are some of the boundaries you would give them advice on?
Mm. I want to say know what you're asking for and know how to handle it. Now, I work in a law firm. So my job, I have to be a little more stricter with my boundaries because
Mhm.
I mean it's a law firm. Like we're almost all mean in there. So I have to kind of do the opposite. I would say know what you want and stick with it. It's okay if you're trying to figure things out, but if you have a non-negotiable, which that's where your boundaries will come in at. Whatever your non-negotiable will be, that is where your boundaries start for those that may not even necessarily know where to start. Because a lot of things we may not like, but as you experience things, you know what your absolute non-negotiable, you know what you don't like, but you're able to tolerate. Be able to differentiate the two. And whatever your non-negotiable is, stick by it. Don't let nobody make you feel bad because there's a reason why it's your non-negotiable. It impacts you either spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It must have impacted you in a way where you no longer wanted to see yourself in that space. Don't compromise that for nobody
Okay.
at all. You can love them from a difference. If it causes you to break the boundaries that you have set for yourself. So
Mhm.
don't be scared to set those boundaries. To a certain extent, don't be scared to test those boundaries. Don't lose yourself in the process. And if it's something that you feel that you're absolutely sure it's your non-negotiable, stick by it by all means.
Okay. All right. Well, one of the boundaries that we set up, we set up a lot of rules, in all this time. And one of the boundaries that we set up was do not do anything that you would be upset with the other for doing. So if my wife would be upset with me going to lunch with another female, she don't do it. And vice versa. So anything, oh, it's just lunch or it's just for work or it's just like we can control the perception. We can control certain things. Like it may be innocent. Like I may choose, okay, I'm gonna go grab lunch with someone, and with this female, and it's completely innocent, completely about work. But then in this small world, somebody sees that girl, Darima. I saw Sam at Starbucks, and he had the venti cafe mocha with heavy cream. Like, and my wife would just blow it off. But when she blows it off, it still plants a seed. That seed is still in her mind. And when you begin to get so many seeds, you start to get a garden and it starts to grow the kind of vegetables that you don't want. They're spoiled, they're rotten, they're diseased. So that's our biggest boundary that we've set up, and I feel that has worked. One was with social media, that anybody in our past that we've ever dated or been romantic with or anything is no contact. Like we don't need to be friends on Facebook or Instagram, because social media it actually opens up an intimate part of people. You'll walk someplace and you'll tell somebody, "Oh yeah, my son. Oh, I know. Yeah, he just graduated from college, and like, because of social media, people know more about us than we do. They know kids' birthdays. They know all of these things. Like, when people look at mine, they know. I'm pretty sure they know I care about my wife. They know that she's my rib. They know that our standard poodle is a diva, and they know I love grass. I love cutting grass. I love the way the yard. Like, they're not going to be able to necessarily tell what our son is doing, because I want to keep his private. Like, when he does an accomplishment, I don't voice it out there, because I've always told him, manifest in silence. Because when you manifest out loud, people are going to try to surround themselves. They're going to try to become friends
Mm-hmm.
just because of what you could possibly do. And I tell people, in that same sense, you have, for some people you're a friend, but for other people you're an opportunity. So when
Yeah.
we set up those things right there, I think that's very important, for people to, like, read the room. And when I say read the room, read your relationship. If your wife is quiet, you need to ask questions, because when your wife is quiet, her mind is working the motors. And I'm like, I'm be nosy. What do what we thinking about today? So it's one of those things, and none of us are perfect, but that, to me, that's the biggest thing about a strong relationship, is that whether it's the ups and downs, the ins and outs, like, at the end of the day, you're there for each other.
Absolutely, I do agree. Even with the whole with boundaries. The first example that you use, like, I think for me, and I know I keep, and I hate because people saturate it so much. Communication, communication. If you know you're with a colleague and it's something innocent, like, you, like, I don't know, you guys are all going out and somebody, because it, okay, so it was a time where my whole job went out. My whole job went out. Not just
Mhm.
myself. It just so happened that when I stepped off and another colleague stepped off to the bar to grab a drink, we'll grab a drink, bump my money for them because I had a mimosa, but to grab a drink, it was perceived that, oh yeah, she's on a date. The only thing that saved me from getting in trouble or having to explain myself is because I already told my husband I'm already going on to work. We already FaceTime prior to me going into the restaurant, and I already told him that the job is taking us out to lunch.
Mhm.
Um, so if you were to communicate that, I don't think that I would have a problem. I completely agree with the social media thing, which is why I don't. You can go on my social media and it's nothing but work. I don't put my personal anything on social media. It might be super rare and in between where you might see like a picture of like my kid, and it might go on the story because I know that's something that kind of disappears in 24 hours, but it's strictly a tool. It's not for my personal life. It's not for people to know if I'm married. It's not, because I don't utilize it for nothing but a digital portfolio. Just as you mentioned, you have people that when they see that you're doing good, and because I understand that a lot of people may not necessarily have healthy relationships, so they kind of see mine as, oh, you guys been together, childhood sweethearts,
Mhm.
and I want what you guys have. Da da da. I'm keen on energy, so I can feel when people want good for you. I can feel when they don't. And when I was younger and I used to put everything on social media, everything went left, and that's because I didn't realize I was allowing everybody into my business. But when I stopped that and I just utilized it for what it's for, which is just strictly a work tool, it became better. So I definitely love the fact that y'all put that in place, far as the the like if you got exes you do, because I completely agree. Like I don't have that many because me and mine's been with each other for a long time, so I don't really have them big problems. But if that's something to make your spouse uncomfortable, stop doing it. And I know that it's hard because it could be something else that don't have nothing completely to do with you, but that's when you put how you feel to the side and you address how your partner feel. Because there's been plenty of times where I did things with pure intentions. I'm a super nice person, so I don't mind, speaking to people. I don't mind when I walk into a room. I speak to everybody as if I know everybody. For my husband, he don't really like that. He go in, he's super stoic. So he don't talk to nobody, which is fine. At first, it caused a lot of issues because he's seen it like, oh, like you're friendly. No, when I know how to go in, I know how to work a room. I know how to go in and shine. My personality shines. That's just kind of what it is. You're a super stoic person. So you can't expect for me to go in the room and push myself in a corner and not say anything. But it got to a point where I'm like, hey, if it's really affecting him, maybe I do need to stop. So I stopped. Like that was the compromise. Let me see it from his perspective. Because although I could defend myself from my perspective, like, hey, it's not that, it's something that's affecting him. So even though it's in my good nature and personality to be this bubbly person, let me step outside myself and now figure out and come to my partner's level and figure out what makes you uncomfortable. Like, let's try to reason this out. Sidebar, I do see a question. It says, y'all think it's healthy for couples to check their spousal social media messages? At one point, I'm not gonna lie. So me and mine's been together for a very long time. I'm not quite sure how. We've been together for almost 20 years, 17 to be exact. It was a long time where I did not have a problem with him going through my social media, phone. Listen, hey, have at it. But it became an issue once. Well, if you go on my social media, you can tell ever since I entered like my career of modeling, it kind of became an issue because now we have to recognize the line of profession that you're in, the amount of attention that you're about to get, right? So now we just come with extra stuff. In the beginning, I absolutely had no problem, but then when it came down to like this person like your stuff, this person like your stuff, this person, I can't go in and block every person that I can't do it. Me having the stress of keeping up with that, it was causing too many issues. So if you be like, hey, let me go ahead and see, it don't make me no never mind. But if we're in the midst of arguing, it's like, oh, let me, because now I know you searching. No matter, even if it's nothing there, you're going to go in and you're going to scroll through all 1,000 likes, 11,000 likes. And be like, why this person like it? Why did, I can't do that. It's too stressful for me to even keep up with. But I don't think, like, if your partner, I guess, is giving you a reason to, by all means, but don't do it if you're looking for something, right? Like if you're needing that ammo to kind of feed whatever you feel it in the inside, don't do it. Like recognize how you feel and go about it in a healthy way. The situation is gonna always shed light, no matter whether you force it out or not. Nobody can live a double life but so long. I understand. Then should couples share their social media pages or have one page as a couple? Well, yeah, like sharing well, you mean share, what you mean share social media pages? If you guys are social media influencers, then I can see where they're sharing the one page come in at, because anybody do social, you go through the comments, you can see how heavy the women are, the men are, like people gonna be super opinionated. So to have one page, absolutely. What I would say is don't allow social media to play a huge part in your relationship. Now, if it's something that one person weigh heavy on, then you might want to kind of reevaluate things, because I know that some people kind of find the validity behind social media, like having those random people like your posts and comment and tell you're beautiful. Like some people look for that validity. That's something in terms that they may have to deal with, especially if they want to allow you to do so. But don't allow that to be like the main factor, like the make or break. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm rambling.
No, go ahead, cook.
Like have one page as a couple. I don't think having one page as a couple, if you guys are gonna have separate pages, if I don't think it should be nothing. I won't say monitor your partner's page, but if you be like, hey, can I see your phone? And they so happen to go through it, I don't think that they should put up a fight behind it. I wouldn't say one page, but I would need more context. So that's another thing. I'm a person that I need more context in order for me to give a full synopsis of what my opinion really is. Because depending on the context, yes, it varies. Like it varies tremendously, but just on a healthy tip, no, like what do you guys need like one page for unless it's something you guys are doing together. But should you guys have access to it? Absolutely. Like if that's something that's will help you with the trust that you're trying to either regain or build or anything of that nature, absolutely.
Well, could I just based off of what you said earlier, I definitely agree. But when it comes to social media, we've set our guidelines, our boundaries. If you've been in any type of romantic relationship, anything, period, it ain't no connection. I don't care if you work with them and vice versa, because at the end of the day,
Well,
at the end of the day, and I'm talking about more one on one, not
okay,
like a office outing or something like that. I'm
got
talking about one on one because men know what other men think, just like women know what other women think. Like my wife trusts me, but she may not trust other women because
agreed.
she's a woman, and vice versa. So if we're hanging out and I see this guy coming up all friendly, all friendly to Dorema, I'm gonna actually, my antennas is up, my spider sense is up just to keep an eye. Not like that I'm expecting anything, but I'm trying to find out who this dude is. Like, why is he cracking jokes and he ain't really that funny? You know, and and it's the same thing for my wife. If I say something real corny, like I'm petty, but I don't paint nails, and my wife is sitting there and there's a lady there and she just starts laughing like I'm Kevin Hart or something. My wife is gonna look at her with like it wasn't that funny. Like, really? Like, so I think when it comes to the social media,
Mhm.
when it gets to a point to where you have to you feel you have to monitor social media, I think that's a red flag that there's something else in that relationship that you guys need to communicate on.
See, and that plays a part, right? So that was the reason why for me, I didn't have a problem being so open. But then I had to also realize that that's not necessarily the case. A lot of our sometimes our spouse hold on to things. Sometimes it's a lot of things
Mhm.
that they may not necessarily get over. So while, and that's another thing, I always kept looking at myself like I'm the problem. Like, damn, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I knew that I wasn't doing everything I was supposed to. Absolutely knew that. So I always made it whereas let me see if I can eliminate myself from the equation to see if I'm really the issue. And most
Mhm.
of the time I was, especially during my learning stage. Absolutely. But when it came down to that, when I'm like, hey, like I would give you the social media, that's not a problem. But it's funny how you only want to check it when you're mad or when we're starting an argument or something of that nature. It's
Mhm.
like need that ammo to keep going. It's like I'm not gonna feed into it. Now I do agree with you far as like, if it's an ex, you guys had any sexual, whatever, cease the relationship. Absolutely. Um, even when you feel like the dynamic of your relationship may change, not you as like you and your wife, but like you and maybe like I wouldn't even say an ex, somebody in a relationship, maybe you had like some sexual relationship with her, but she was a good friend. You did that back 20 years ago. You end up running into her and oh, can I share your social media? Da da da. For me, if you're in a healthy place, I'm not gonna say that. Well, I'm gonna say this first. I'm gonna give you the rope. I'm gonna give you the rope. And whatever you decide to do with that rope, whether it's you hanging it around your neck or you letting it free fall, that's on you. If you want to hang yourself, hang yourself. But to go to the extent of like you say monitoring your social media, being I'm not doing all that. Like that's if I have to do all that, then but I also have to realize if am I the problem in it? Because if I'm the problem, I'm not going to make it difficult for you to maneuver how you're maneuvering if I know that the issue is solely with me. Like
Mhm.
I did have an issue at one point. Every single female that my husband smiled at, befriended, I had, but it was never with them.
Mhm.
It was with me. And once I realized that, I stopped getting jealous when we'll go out somewhere, he'd hold the door open for me, and then he'd hold the door open for another woman that may be walking either coming in or past or whatever the case is. I see some women that really get mad about that. And I used to too. I'm gonna bust you upside your head because how dare you disrespect me? But it wasn't form of disrespect. This man mama raised him to be a good man. What are you gonna do?
Mhm.
Slam the door on a lady because you or because I have a problem with him holding like it doesn't make any sense. So for me, when you realize whether you're the problem or not, it does at ease a lot of things. I got rid of a very jealous trait. So I like to say I'm not jealous. I'm a very territorial person, but I'm not a jealous person because what you can do, I can do, and probably can do better. So I love to give that the kudos there, but I can't be jealous of something I know that I could obtain and probably can do better. So you do
Mm.
have the women that you tell a corny joke when she's sitting here cackling because you was Martin Lawrence, you is Richard Pryor, you are Eddie Murphy. And a long time ago, I used to get mad. I actually fought somebody over that. But now it take a lot. Maybe because I've been with mine for so long, but it take a different person to sit back and be like, "Oh, girl, he was funny. I know that my man. I know he was funny. I got." It just take a different place that you'll be in for you to hold that confidence that don't allow stuff like that to bother you. If that makes sense.
It does. Now, let me ask you this, because you planted in talking, you planted a few seeds in my head.
Okay.
So let me ask you this: what role does trust play in a successful relationship, and how do you rebuild it once it's broken?
Ooh, and I have been there where I've had it, broke it, rebuild it, shattered it, rebuild it again. Trust plays a lot. And with me being selfish, I did not realize how much of a role it played because everything was from my perspective. And if you didn't get it,
Mhm.
you just simply didn't get it. I don't care how you feel. Um, how do you rebuild it? You have to start from scratch. And it sounds terrible, but you have to start from scratch. I've definitely put myself in positions where, like I say, I broke the trust. I definitely been put myself in positions where I broke trust with my husband, but surrendering my all, surrendering every aspect and every part of me, along with whatever broke the trust. So if it was access to the cell phone, access to whatever, you can have it. Because 9 times out of 10, if with me breaking the trust, I broke the trust due to the lack of what we didn't have. So
Mhm.
prime example, my husband's super traditional guy. He's he wants to work. He I wouldn't say necessarily like a stay at home mom, but he wants a big family. He the one that wants to work. He has his traditional values. Me, not so much. Like let me be your partner. If you work, I want to work too. Let me
Mhm.
help us. I understand you want to do and you're the man, but you have a partner, so you're not understanding. From his perspective, it's you're too independent. For me
Mhm.
is I just want to help. So me not realizing that I was being rebellious. And again, we've been together since I was 16, he was 17. So listen, we had time to do this because we was kids. Um, I didn't respect it. I didn't understand it at that point in time. It's like, no, you're trying to control me, yada yada yada, and messed up. Um, so when, of course, when he asked or when he found out whatever the case is, I had to surrender it all. Like you could have like I'm telling you the reason why I'm doing it. I'm not saying it is an excuse. I'm gonna always point out what I did wrong. I'm not saying it's an excuse. What I'm saying is if we can fix this, this will no longer be a problem. And if you don't want to fix it, and I'm aware that we're young and we may not be able to because we're too young, we need to weigh our odds and do what's going to be right for the both of us. It was a
Yeah.
struggle. It was a struggle, but you have to draw back to the question. My apology. You gotta surrender it all. You gotta show your partner that you're just as much in it as the next, and it's scary because you kind of have to leave it up to them on whether they're going to forgive you or not. Like, now luckily Miles was able to forgive me. Of course, he had stuff in the back of his head. There's other stuff I had to rectify, other stuff I had to prove. But I didn't have no problem because I knew where I failed at. Whether I had felt like I had reasons or not, which were super legit reasons, it doesn't matter. If I knew I had a better way of handling it, I should have taken that avenue. So it takes a lot, but it is super possible.
Now, could I just step in real quick?
Yeah.
You mentioned the age 16.
Yes.
So you guys have been together, like literally growing into adulthood together.
Yep.
And so I'm not a type of person to make excuses or anything, but I have to kind of like give grace to the fact that we're all going to stumble in life. The goal is to stumble sooner than later and minimize that. So the thing is like, because you were a young woman, you didn't realize, I always we started off with, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? We could easily have changed that 18 to 16-year-old self.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee what you said would probably apply even though it was 2 years sooner.
Yep.
So I think that when we look at those things on like repairing, I think we have to look at like, when you said sacrifice, just opening, becoming an open book. Sometimes we should have already been open prior, but there's so many things that we don't learn until later. And I think that's one of the things that anytime my wife has fallen, I was there to pick her up. I would think. Anytime I've fallen, she's done the same thing.
Right.
At any time we could have easily tapped out. But I think that's what solidify how much more special it is, because again, you guys have grown into adulthood together.
Yeah.
You have made mistakes, and it's a blessing to see that, because just like I'm pretty sure you can see how he's grown, he could definitely see how you have grown. And when you mentioned also that he's traditional, I think one of the issues in today's society now is that a lot of women want traditional men, but they don't want to be a traditional woman. And I'm not necessarily saying stay at home and have kids, but to be honest, to me that's even harder. To deal with some young kids running around acting up, and then to make sure everything is good, and then when he gets home to have to console him on whatever happened that day. To me that's a harder job, and I know that when we look at just the roles of being traditional, like, if you ask my wife, she loves it. Like, she loves it being so long that she put gas in the car that, she may not know what side the gas tank is on, you know. But it's one of those things that I would rather myself, especially in today's time, I would rather myself be put in danger of going to that gas station and getting robbed or mugged or shot than her. So that's one of the reasons why I put gas in all the cars.
Same.
So it's been times where she would get in late and it would be like 9:45. And she's like, the silver car need gas or the black car need gas. I run up the sheets and go ahead and knock it out so that when she gets in, she crank. That's just I just really think that we need to start getting back some of that chivalry, some of that, some of those things that we do because it was one time, and we'll go to the next question after this, but it was one time when you mentioned opening the doors. Well, there was a female couple that was walking into the store, and I opened the door for the first one. She was like really feminine.
Mhm.
And the other one was more masculine. I mean, you would have to check to see if they had to go to like it's really masculine. So I stepped in front of is like, excuse me. I said, sir, like
No.
if you want to be masculine. If you want to be feminine, be feminine. So when we walked out of the store, I didn't even open the door. Where's chivalry at? And like she's acting like she's holding a Johnson. Like, and I'm sitting here like, so I just ignored it and kept it moving. But I think we're getting to a point to where it's really starting to get with social media, with all these dynamics. I really think it's starting to um get younger and younger, because mothers are getting younger, especially in the Black community. So now boys aren't being taught chivalry. They're being taught a woman needs to take care of me. You know, it was one person I knew. We did AAU basketball, and it was one young man who uh had a piece of steak or something, and he was like, "Ugh." His mother came over there and started cutting it up for him. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "He can cut his own steak," you
Mm.
know. But that's the thing right there is a lot of people don't understand that that's where the chivalry is going, is being taught, it is being disappeared by the people who want it. If that makes sense.
It does. And I'm not, because I know you say we're gonna move on to the next question. A lot of and this applies to all races. It's because a lot of the boys are being raised by single mothers. So it's not necessarily what they're teaching them on purpose, because they can, like, kids are going to pick up with whatever behavior their parent exhibit, especially their primary parent. The issue is the fact that they're seeing it from their mom. So you have guys that don't know how to necessarily handle things how what people would say men should handle things, because they're so used to their mom. They don't know how to, I won't even say effectively argue, but effectively communicate, because you're so used to your mom cursing out guys, and F this guy, and I'm gonna, do this to him, and I'm gonna do that to him. Whereas the guys are doing the same thing when they're interacting with women. You're cursing them, you're being aggressive, you're doing harmful things to them. So you're absolutely correct. With them being raised by single parents, it's the same thing if like a daughter's being raised by her dad. Like, you may struggle with a man kind of being a man because you're so dominant, because your dad raised you. That's because your dad raised you to be a strong woman, but it can be misconstrued. So yeah, like that plays a huge part, not having a healthy two-parent household.
Yeah, and I also tell people like it's important to have a positive male figure. If you're raising a son, there's certain things I can't teach to a young woman or a young girl growing into a woman, and I think that's vice versa. When I look at Kevin Durant, when he received his first MVP, he told his mom, "You're the real MVP," and I understand the struggle that they went through. But at the same time, his mother made sure that there was positive men in Kevin Durant's life, to help mold that because y- you know, I think because mothers are starting to get so much younger, they're going away from I'm a mother to I want to be a friend. I wanted to be the best friend. And then when you do this with this young boy, and they continue to grow up, and you're bathing, you're protecting them, you're shielding them from all this stuff, and they're not learning, and they're picking up all this info. Like if they hear you gossip all the time, that young boy is going to begin to use that gossip vernacular. He's going to use your mannerisms. He's going to if you're gossiping and talking about people, it's going to kids are like sponges. They're supposed to emulate the adults. So I think that when this young man goes off, he's 18 and he's out in the world, and he meets a young lady, and the young lady is coming back to the mother saying, he's just not respectful. I have to do everything. Like I'm out at work all day and he's just sitting at home. And the mother should be, you know, you raise, you raise that monster. He learned everything, from what you allowed him to do. That's how I look at it. And I say that to even adults. I said this to somebody the other day. I saw somebody do something and I felt was disrespectful. And I said, hey, you creating that beast. So when that beast I told her, I said, when that beast hit back, you're the one who built it. You allowed all this stuff. So that's how I kind of like look at that right there. Like you and your husband, how he is because y'all have time together. My wife knows how I am. Like the other day, we came back from Charlotte and it was like a reset. The first thing I want to do is get out in the yard and cut grass. And I said, babe, you gonna let me cut some grass? And she's like, well, it's raining. I said, well, my lawnmower can cut in the rain. So she allowed me to do that. So I'm out there, cutting grass. And when I came in, I said, I want to thank you for allowing me to do that because I know you just want to sit down and relax together. But it's my peace to be cutting, I like to walk barefoot in the yard, to lay out there and lounge. So, she's putting out aloud.
Don't get in trouble.
But it is one of those things that I just think that, and I know we got off, but I think it all goes into like the trust. And one of the questions was, what role does trust play in a successful relationship? And how do you, we talked about how we go about rebuilding it, but how do we reinforce it?
How do you reinforce trust? It's several ways that you can reinforce trust. And I would have to agree, Cindy. Sorry, not to be off topic, but yes, that's because you have to be aware as a mom or as a single parent that you can't do it all. You could do the best you can, but you gotta have a village. That's the only way how. Reinforcing trust is don't cast doubt. I think it's super easy to cast doubt when you're only thinking from one perspective. Reassure each other. That's also another way to like strengthen the trust. Because if it's broken 9 times out of 10, whether it's both you guys or one of you guys, your mind is racing. So like that reassurance, or without that reassurance, you're allowing your mind to create these scenarios and your feelings to play off of things. And that can be super detrimental. What other way? I think when I mentioned earlier, when I say I surrendered myself, like I opened myself up completely. And that's another thing that we don't like to do. I also had to take into account that me opening up could be setting myself up for failure. I also could be giving this person all the weapon and ammo that they need to like tear me to pieces. But I had to trust that he didn't do that. Right. I had to trust that if I was to bring an issue to his attention, that would be able to attempt to collectively resolve it. Now, in our early ages as a kid, absolutely not. We didn't know what the heck, we didn't know what that meant. What? We were super young. But it was a lot of things that we did and we implemented and put in place before we had our first kid and before we got married. Um, but those were it. Like I had to bone over, as the old people would say, and I had to expose myself and really let him know what my like issues were, whether they were with me or they were with him or just with the situation in general. I know it always start with me, but I had to I had to surrender myself, and I really had to. We had to figure it out, so that really reinforces the trust. Also, we're originally from DC, so when we moved after graduating high school. He's a year older than me, so he left a year prior to, came back, and then we both left when I graduated high school. So also not having anyone around, no family, no one in our business. It's just literally us two every day, day in, day out. It's no picking up the phone and calling family. It's no going to see family. We're in North Carolina. Everybody's in DC. Like it's, that also reinforced a lot of trust, having to work things out or forcibly
Mm-hmm.
like we had to fix it. We couldn't
Yeah.
call mom and then mom get in the midst. It wasn't no none of that. Like it's
Yeah.
me and you. And if me and you can't figure it out, then me and you gonna have to figure it out. So yeah.
Sounds like a lot of growth. So let me ask you this. So how do you balance individuality while still growing together as a couple?
Oh my gosh. It was super hard because like I mentioned, he's stoic. When he's around people that he's comfortable with, that he like, it's a whole different ball game. But he's a naturally stoic person.
Mhm.
And I'm super bubbly. And both of our personalities will often get misconstrued for certain behaviors. Um, Understanding your partner and knowing that you don't like their partner don't carry any malicious intent helped. Um, how his exes, like when they were friendly, their friendly led off to something different. But
Mhm.
he seen my friendly, yes, it triggered him from his past, but I also had to open up his eyes and to show him that everybody's not the same. Once he got around my parent, like my family, and once he actually seen me for me, it helped. Like he knew it was like, oh yeah, she's just not trying to, be funny. For instance, how people do like when we were younger, it's like, oh, this my brother, this my sister, and you knew what y'all was
Mhm.
doing behind closed doors. Like, don't, that's my best friend, but you knew what y'all was doing behind closed doors, but you used that as a facade. That was like an absolute no-no for him. He could not stand that. So I do have a male best friend. Me and my best friend been best friends since junior high school. So we've been best friends for over 20 years.
Okay,
He,
hold on. I gotta make sure because we got to talk about that.
okay, we can stick a pin in it. Okay.
Yeah, but go ahead with your thought, and then I'm gonna come right back with it.
Okay, he wasn't too fond of the male best friend, and that's because as he mentioned, like his ex is, oh, this is my best friend, but then when he found out that they was doing stuff together, it wasn't really a best friend. With him,
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, this has never been that. He's been around funny. My grandma fed him. His mom and my mama know each other. Like we like it's here. Like we never shared a kiss. Like it's never been that. So it did take a while. It was a lot of pulling and tugging, but after a while, once he seen me for me and he was able to accept me for who I was, knowing that I wasn't moving with malicious intent, because a lot of people mask that behavior and they used it against them, then it became a lot better. It was super difficult in the beginning because I had to contort myself a lot just to see like, hey, is it me? But after a while, I'm like, yeah, it's not me, it's you. So let me help you. Let me hold your hand, because like it's tough for me to change who I am to try to fit or fix your past when that's not who I am by far. Like you can't squeeze, push me in that box.
Mhm.
So I'm ready for the best friend question.
All right. So I hear a lot of people that will use the word platonic.
Yes.
So do you believe? Well, first, what do you define as? What do you consider platonic? And I'll tell you what I perceive as platonic.
A nice a It should be no likeness. A platonic relationship is somebody that you should see that other person as a sibling. Like it should be no type of nothing there. You guys should be on like a sibling level. It's a nice healthy relationship. Your male best friend that you know, or your female friend or whatever, like they're there as if they're a brother or a sister or like a mentor, some type of guidance. They gotta serve some type of purpose. Um and no sexual nothing, like that's an absolute no. It can't be platonic if it ever had anything to do with sex, feelings, or anything. You can't start off with feelings then end off as friends. Like no, that doesn't work like that. Like it need to be
Okay.
platonic from beginning to end. Me and my best friend, again, we've been best friends since junior high school. And we became friends because he's a super magnanimous person. He wears his heart on his sleeve, so he loved hard. I like to I'm a defender. Like I protect what's mine. If I see that something's being taken advantage of, I'm stepping in by all means. So that's how we kind of, you know, built our relationship, because I seen him get taken advantage so much that I'm defending him by any means, and I always get on him and fight him, because it's like you don't let people take advantage of you. So it's just having a healthy relationship. Like I said, we never kissed, never been together, never uh, anything you can think of. Ain't never been on none of that.
Okay. So you just gave what you feel your version of
Yeah.
platonic is. To me, I don't believe in platonic. You you're either a friend or you're not. And I'm gonna tell you the men's from a men's perspective.
Okay.
And
Okay.
your husband will probably agree, and that's the reason why he was looking side-eyed at,
Probably, yeah.
at your best friend.
Hmm.
For men, platonic means just stand by. So when
Okay.
this woman, when you're best friends, you're talking all the time. You know, you're communicating, you're sharing like ups and downs and all those things. That's called intimacy. You know, anytime you're spending time in conversation about life, about feelings, about ups and downs, that's intimacy. So the way men look at it is they just standing by. There's gonna be one day where CJ come knocking on the door and gonna be like, "Ah, he just so disrespectful. Girl, give me a hug. You just need a hug, and you're gonna be on the couch crying."
I get it.
Men look at that as standing by.
So,
Now, some men are patient than others, and
hmm
you even have some men that will act feminine as a role to gain that trust. Like there's skits all on TikTok and other places where these two guys they just
oh, act
real
like,
manage,
oh,
but
I know exactly who you talk. Okay, never mind. I know.
because that's how they get in. Just like when I would have soldiers come in to the unit, and I was assigned their squad leader. Hey, big Sarge, we're going to the jewelry store. I said, "Oh, what you gonna buy over lunch?" "Oh, I just need to get a quick wedding band." I said, "A wedding band?" He's like, "Yeah, because that's what they like to see at the NCO club. All the women they look for men with a ring on." So these soldiers go to buy a ring so they can pretend that they married, because some women was there just at the club to have one night stands or hang out, or like they didn't want a relationship. So they're looking for rings. So what I'm telling you from a men's perspective, platonic for a man means that they just standing by. So when you say there should be two questions that come from your husband. The first question, is he gay? And if you say yes, he's gonna be how long? But if you can't answer those two, your husband is gonna be thinking in his head, this cat just standing by. That's how men think.
He no, and I completely understand, which is why in the beginning when he brought it to my attention, I completely understood and I respect that. Now, the thing that I could not do, I could not cut my best friend off. Now, I completely understand what you're talking about. To me, I don't call them platonic relationships. Like if I know that you have some type of likeness, like I'm not gonna call you a friend, cause I know what it is. Another thing that I don't do, because I don't even do it when I have issues within my marriage, I don't even call my family. I'm not gonna pick up the phone and I'm not gonna call another guy to let them know that my man is messing up. I would never speak with a guy that I know have a likeness to me and tell him anything about my. We can be in here and can be throwing blows. You would never know, and it's not your business. So I think a lot of people do mess up when you do that. I do get what you mean by the intimacy part, but I think because I also have boundaries and standards within myself that I won't allow to take place for that to even, at least within my control, happen. If it does, it's not because I contribute towards it. I'm going to try to eliminate myself as much as possible from it, like as a factor, to see if it was really me. Now, if it's because like, damn, I was opening up the door, talking to him about what we had going on, and I was doing this and I was doing that, I can get it. And it's my fault at the end of the day. But
yeah, because he's gonna be like, yep, just a matter of time. Be
exactly.
patient. I'm gonna
He's
be
gonna be
patient.
back to
And I mean, that's like, I think that goes to like what you mentioned earlier about communication. Like me, if me and my wife ever gone through some things, I never speak to my family directly.
Nope.
The reason why I don't is because every time that they see her, they'll just, people remember the bad, not the good. And it's always going to be in their mind. So, I tell folks, like, if you need to talk to somebody, get a counselor that don't have nothing to do with anybody in your circle or anything. And like, this is a transparent moment right here. I got a counselor and walked in the office and I was like, that's a comfortable sofa right there. I say, are people able to lay down on it? And he was like, oh yeah. I said, well, I just need an hour to vent and then I'll see you in like 3 months. So
Like
I
that.
I kicked my shoes off and I got on that dang on sofa and I just let it out.
I like that.
I let it out because we have a lot of friends in the same circle. So I can't talk to them because our friends interact so much. So that's the reason why if I just got a vent, I go out and vent. But at the same time, we have to understand that I'm just not venting to somebody else. I need to also, if I have any concerns, I need to share it, not let it build up, but share it as it happens. I don't want issues to snowball because I sat on it for like 3, 4, 5 months and now is blown out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
But so if you believe in one important quality that's needed to have a strong relationship or marriage, what would that single important quality be?
Oh, it's no one quality. Ooh.
The most important one for you.
Ooh. What would be your important one? You gotta circle back because I can't just
Okay. So I'll give a real world example.
Okay.
Understanding that my wife is a female and I'm a male. Men choose to want to solve problems, choose to want to protect. So when my wife will call me after something, the one thing I'm thinking about is, okay, my mind's turning. How do I fix it? How do I make her happy by fixing whatever she's talking to me about? Well, I give my input, my 2 cents, I give my whole thesis and everything. And she's like, "Ugh, I just needed to vent. I ain't need all that. Like you telling me I need to work harder on myself and I don't need that. I just need you to listen." So one day I basically just said, look, I said, you know how I am. when you start a conversation with me, I need you to let me know I'm just venting,
Yeah, I'm the same
or
way.
this is something that we need to work on together. So now when she just says, soon as I'll say hello, okay, babe, I'm just venting. And then, so now my ears are open just to receive anything that she needs to give me.
Yep.
So to me, that part of communication is the number one priority of actually, I think women need to let the men know I'm venting, or this is a problem I need your help solving.
That's funny because I even like I made that clear. I don't think that's like a gender thing because I'm the same way. I'm just like, hey, this is for me. I'm a I don't vent, and I think this is another reason why because I don't necessarily vent. Um, I don't speak on things unless I'm looking for a change. If I'm just getting it out, I keep it to myself.
Mhm.
Um, So I think for him, anytime when I was coming to him, because that was in the beginning when I didn't recognize what venting was, I was bawling a lot of things. Then like after a while, the cap blew off, right? So it's like I realized the importance of just simply getting it out without and like not having to like fully feel it and like change my emotion and change my thought process. So just like let me vent, let me kind of get it out. And he always went into like solution mode, because he wasn't used to me venting. So
Mhm.
I will have to. I'm sorry, I said disagree. I would have to agree with you because at the beginning, I didn't make it clear at all. I think my one would be. I know you said one, but grace and attentiveness. I don't think that we give each other grace in relationships, um, because we expect one common sense to be common, and two, we expect for people to understand the rules and regulations and foundation of a marriage without setting the rules and regulations and foundations of a marriage, because you have to understand everything don't work for everybody. So knowing what works specifically for you and your relationship is very
Mhm.
important to find. So that grace and that attentiveness for me is like super key and super important. And knowing what works for you guys, not what works for other people.
Okay. That sounds good. And I think a lot of people got some good information this evening.
I hope so.
And I definitely want to thank you, but um outside of asking people just to subscribe and follow the station, could you please tell them where they can follow you at on your social media?
Yes. Well, I really don't be on Facebook like that, but you guys can definitely check me out on Facebook at CJ Wade or CJ Glover. On Instagram, you see the tag right here. It's at the CJ Project _. And then I have my booking links, my TikTok link, and everything else there as well. But I primarily work off of Instagram. So, if you want to see more of me, my expansion, then just just visit me on Instagram right here.
Okay, and I do know you have something after dark. So I just want to bring up that, and if you take about 30 seconds just to explain it for everybody.
Absolutely. So I did get casted at a show in New York called After Dark Live Art Show Neon Night. So it's a combination of a fashion show, body art, performance, and a whole immersive experience. It is June 20th. The doors do open at 7:30, but the show is from 9 to 12. Now it is adults only, so you got to leave the kiddies at home, guys. But just come out. It's super dope. It's going to be super intense. And it's definitely gonna be something different that I've done prior to. So come check me out there in New York, June 20th.
Okay. And there's one more thing. Love Lounge. Um, can you you want me to show a preview first?
Yeah, shout out to you, Dave and Ken.
All right, here we go.
The love lounge knows the truth when you try to hide. what you do. The love lines will tell on you. The music knows your truth. It's easy, hears in your face shows the love line sees your soul. The music knows your truth. Music.
Okay. So could you tell us a little bit about it?
Now, I'm super excited with this project because it's different from any other project that I've done. It is a vertical film, and if anybody knows, vertical films are definitely in. So each clip is anywhere between 2 to 3 minutes. It is a supernatural, psychological thriller. Super dope because I actually love watching them like type of genre shows and movies on TV. So it's gonna be something new. It's basically if you heard it in the song, it's where the lounge knows your soul. So it knows your dirt, it knows what you got going on, and it's up to you to determine if you're gonna, go left or go right with it, which is so funny because it does tie into what we talked about today as far as marriages. So I can't really go too much in detail. I'm sorry, I did sign an NDA, but listen, guys, stay tuned. We'll definitely be recording this pretty soon. So I'll be promoting it a lot more the closer it gets to the actual release. But I'm ready. It's I want to say so far we have about 6 episodes. So
Okay.
I'm excited.
Sounds good. Definitely keep me posted. And I just want to thank everybody again for just following the podcast, taking part, everybody, all the comments. We definitely appreciate everything. And also feel free after, to feel free to just comment if you do have questions. And I'll try to respond to everything. And also we look forward, hopefully, for CJ to be back again as a guest. And we just want to address issues in our community, and we're going to move forward. So everybody enjoy your week, have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
All right.